Okay, episode 2, all things boxing. Got a lot of things to cover this week. For me, Kenny Porter. I don't even want to touch on the fight. I just want to talk about Kenny Porter. So we had Sean Porter and Terence Crawford fought for the... What title did they fight for?
It's the WBO.
Yeah, so whatever title it was WBO world title. How did you score the fight going into the 10th round? Just before.
You know what? I think I said to you the morning after, like, I thought it was quite difficult to score. They both had their moments up until then.
So it was a close fight.
I could have, if the fight stopped there and they scored it either way, I probably could have maybe seen the perspective on both sides. But yeah, it was a very close fight.
So Crawford knocks down Porter, the first knockdown. Porter gets up. He's not hurt. He doesn't look...
He was very square. That first knockdown, he was...
It's more like a balance shot,
it was
right?
balance, yeah.
Goes down the second knockdown. What did you think about the second knockdown? Did he look more hurt or...
It was definitely a more damaging shot. Turned his head. You see his head spin. But again, his reaction afterwards... You know what? When I watched it the second time, you do see his arms are a bit... when he's holding himself up on the canvas, but the reaction, him punching the canvas like that, and he was with it. It wasn't like
if you're hurt, like you're not going to be able to...
We've seen guys get hurt and they don't know where they are.
Yeah, and he knew. Yeah, so he's punching the canvas, right? You know what? For me, that's a 10-7 round. So even if the fight's close, he weren't up. It's a 10-7 round. So I don't really have a problem with the stoppage. It was just more like the justification of the stoppage, like to come into the ring as a trainer and as a dad and say what he said. So just for the people, basically he stopped the fight after the second knockdown, and he's basically said, look, I stopped the fight because I wasn't ready with Sean's preparation. Almost like, I don't know, man, like almost like it was a pride thing for me. I heard like more pride, like, oh, you didn't listen to me, so I've decided to stop the fight. But if you weren't happy with the preparation, like,
why is he in the fight? Yeah.
You know, like, what's your thoughts on his post-fight interview?
Yeah, I definitely didn't agree with the comments. Although we don't know what kind of preparation Sean Porter's gone through. He could have not trained at all. Obviously he did. But like you said, you don't stop a fight because of someone's preparation. Because on that basis, he could have stopped that fight in any round leading up.
But how bad could the preparation have been? Like, he's fighting Terence Crawford, who is arguably number 2, at least joint number 2, pound for pound, and it's a close fight. That's why I was asking you, how did you score the fight? You can't not prepare properly and go into round 10. Andre Ward had him up on the cards. You can't not perform at that level if you're underprepared. So I don't know, man. Like, I feel like part of Kenny was scared that Terence was really gonna pounce on Sean. But yeah, like that interview there was that was the first time I've seen Sean kind of publicly disagree with how his dad was moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think like it was very emotional. That kind of is like, there was a lot, like you said, it seemed like there was a lot of pride there. Almost like he was trying to prove a point to his son. But I don't know, like, if he had just come out and said, look, I saw him hurt, and Sean Porter you sent me that video of Sean Porter discussing it on his own podcast, and him kind of saying, look, me not preparing in the way my dad wanted me to prepare, it was kind of taking it out of his hands in terms of his position as the trainer to be able to pull him out of the ring, which is a fair enough kind of explanation. And maybe looking back, maybe it's the way he's just said, the way he's communicated that. That has come across as a bit, because if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, if I'm in your corner and you're effectively, in certain scenarios, putting your life in my hands. Obviously, the referee's there as well. But if you've done something, or if if I feel like I'm not gonna have control of this situation anymore, and you could possibly get hurt, then I'm gonna throw the towel in. However, if you look at what was playing out in the ring, there was nothing there to suggest that Sean needed to be pulled out of that fight at that moment.
Yeah.
You pull a fighter out when pulling a fighter out is to preserve the condition of the fighter. He got up, he got up within the count. He wasn't stumbling or didn't seem delirious. He didn't seem hurt at all, really.
Yeah. I think for me, like I agree with everything that you said, by the way, but I think seeing that, like, Sean is a very humble guy. Like, he's obviously got a lot of admiration and respect for his dad. He listens to his dad, and seeing his confusion, it's like, if you're in my corner and we speak every day, we train every day, if you pull me out, I know why you pulled me out.
Yeah.
As much as I'm going to be frustrated, I'm not going to be like confused. But to see Sean confused, and these lot have gone through the amateurs. Now they're at they're fighting for unifications.
I'm through.
They're not in camp. Yeah, they're not inexperienced. Yeah. So when I saw Sean's confusion along with my own, it kind of, I don't know. It made me feel like, even Sean felt like it was too soon a call. I just think that interview that he gave in the ring on live TV, I just think there's a time and a place.
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
Because his interview that he gave in the post-fight press conference was better. He come on a thing of, look, he's looking to retire anyway. Like, it's my son. He's got kids. He's got a wife. I want him to be functional. Like, them things there I could agree with, but it's like he was trying to throw Sean under the bus in the ring. And like, I'm looking at Sean's body language, and Sean's just like, why are you doing this? Like, and it's just like, Sean's a big man, and I don't know. I just didn't agree with, I guess, not so much the stoppage, but just the way Kenny conducted himself immediately after. Props to Terence Crawford. Where do you feel Terence Crawford goes from here?
It's got to beat Errol Spence. I would also like to see him fight Josh Taylor.
Yeah, that won't be at welterweight though, will it?
It wouldn't be at welterweight. And if he could get back down, then that's potentially a very good fight as well. Because it's two. I mean, Josh Taylor's up there. I don't think he gets enough props.
Do you think he's on that level though? Because I agree he doesn't get enough props, but do you think he's on the level of Crawford?
Maybe not on Crawford's level, but I don't think Errol Spence is on Crawford's level either. He's just a bigger, stronger fighter, so it'd be good to see how Terence Crawford comes up against that. But Josh Taylor's definitely of the level where he should be pushing to fight pound for pound.
Yeah, my problem with that matchup though, Josh, is that I think for the last 3 years, Terence Crawford's been at welterweight. He's been chasing Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. Off the back of beating Sean Porter, why at 147? Why would he go back?
Of course,
to 140.
And that's why I think.
But you just mean
got to be Errol Spence.
So,
next. But once he's, if he was to beat Errol Spence, then
do you think he beats Errol Spence? You think he beats Errol Spence? How do you think the fight goes?
I think he's definitely capable. But Errol Spence is a huge puncher at that weight. He's a big, strong welterweight. He could probably go up to light middleweight and
easy. Yeah, when they're fighting, he must rehydrate to middleweight.
So if Terence Crawford was to get through that, then you can't argue that he's pound for pound definitely of this era. Does he beat him though? I don't think he'd be able to do what he's just gone and done against Sean Porter in terms of have a bit of a tear up in the middle of the ring. Although Errol Spence's style might not. You know?
I think you're right. The styles make fights. I think for me, like, we can see that Porter's obviously great, but it's like we can't put our finger on what is so good about him.
Yeah,
like Spence is a big puncher. Canelo has got good body punches. Like, certain men have good defense, but with Crawford, it's like he doesn't do anything necessarily spectacular. Like, he hasn't got a great swagger about his work either. So it's like, but everyone says that he's the best at adjusting. But for me, I feel like if Porter can get to him, which he did, Errol can get to him. I feel like Errol's got better fundamental defense than probably anyone that Crawford has fought. So I don't think it will be as easy to land on Errol.
Yeah, I think my when you ask me that question, my first answer would be probably Errol Spence. But I mean,
but I get you.
Terence Crawford, he's a very talented boxer.
I think he's a better boxer. I just feel like I don't know, man. It's just a style versus fight. Like style makes fights. It just depends. I feel like the size and the heat that Errol can bring, the punches that he'll put together, like from round 1 to 12, and that intensity. He might not knock Crawford out, but I feel like he could at least outwork him. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, and just be up on the points. Just a quick word on went past this. Just a quick word on Sean Porter. I guess he's retiring.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, the guy has fought more or less everyone. Top welterweight in his era.
Yeah.
The one that maybe he hasn't fought is probably Pacquiao, but that's obviously an era before him. Pacquiao's had his own thing going on, you know. So, but he's given. I've never watched a Sean Porter fight where he hasn't given the opponent hell.
I think he's lost. He
has this thing about him where, and I think I touched on it last episode. If you're stepping in the ring with him, win or lose, you're coming out knowing you've been in a fight.
Yeah.
And I think the Terence Crawford fight, I think that was one of the best I've seen him. In terms of the way he was picking his moments, he was showing that he knew how to fight someone that is of Terence Crawford's level. But yeah, man, props to Sean Porter.
Big up Sean, man.
He's done his career the right way. He's had a good amateur career as well.
I think even his 2 losses to Errol Spence and Keith Thurman.
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. None of them were unanimous. All split decisions. So some judges had him up. So it just goes to show that, you know, he really brings the fight, and you know, he was in all of those fights. He was never dominated. But going back to that, even though we're talking about the stoppage was a bit premature, he was stopped by Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
He was dropped twice and he was stopped. So I guess on paper, Terence Crawford has made the biggest statement. I do recall Sean Porter saying that Terence doesn't punch like Errol. And although he's been at the weight for a while, I feel like just going back to him versus Errol, that will be the factor that kind of changes the fight. You know, Errol's punching power. Okay, anything else on the welterweights want to talk about?
No, man.
Anything else
I think we
going on
touched on it last episode, innit? I think we're just seeing like this era of welterweight sort of move on now. You got the new ones coming up. Ennis.
Yeah, I haven't even seen much of him. If I'm honest,
could even throw Conor Benn in there. You know. I think.
What do you think about Conor Benn, and because his name has been thrown in there, like even before the Terence Crawford and Sean Porter fight was made, Conor Benn's team were trying to make the fight with Sean Porter.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair? Do you think they can justify making that kind of matchup? We know he's fighting Chris Algieri.
They were saying that off the basis of what Conor Benn did to Formella, the guy that fought Sean Porter in Sean Porter's last fight, and he took Sean Porter 12 rounds. I haven't actually seen that fight, so I'd be interested to see that fight because I wasn't impressed.
Which one?
Sean Porter versus Formella.
Yeah, it was similar to what Conor Benn did.
So
he really beat him up.
I don't think you can sort of say, oh, he did this to this guy, even though they were quite close together. He did this to this guy. He did this to this guy. So they should. I mean, look, I've doubted Conor Benn in the past, and props to him and Tony Sims. Like, he's come on a long way in the last sort of 3 years.
Yeah.
When he started, he was very raw.
Yeah.
Didn't really have much boxing ability at all, and I felt like he was also sort of trying to live up to this kind of destroyer because of his dad and whatnot. This dark destroyer persona where he goes in and just does similar to what his dad or even Sean Porter could do to people,
or would do, yeah.
But he's the last 3 years he's really developed as a boxer, and he's
looks a lot better.
He can now maybe potentially get to that level where he is in the ring with the top welterweights, you know.
But we have a lot of and I'm just going to play devil's advocate for this situation. We have a lot of other domestic welterweights, Florian Marku, Chris Congo.
Josh Kelly,
the southpaw that beat Chris Congo. I forget his name. David Adenisian.
Yeah.
None of these guys' names have been mentioned to fight the likes of Sean Porter, even Formella. And now obviously Conor Benn is fighting Chris Algieri, who's only ever lost to, I believe, Errol Spence and Pacquiao, only been stopped by Spence. So it's a big fight for Conor Benn, and props for his team for making it. But can you justify that?
I think in general, I kind of of the stance of, look, you can't go and fight for world titles if you haven't even fought the best in your country.
Yeah.
Domestically, you know.
Yeah.
And look, we've seen what happened with Anthony Yard. Although he went out to Russia, fought Kovalev, had a moment in the fight where we thought maybe he was going to win that fight, but then he's come back down to domestic level and fought Lyndon Arthur and lost.
Yeah.
And Lyndon Arthur's looked like the much better fighter. So
and
there's no problem with that. If you're going to get the opportunity to go and fight for this amount of money and fight a legend like Kovalev, you're always going to take it. And that's not their fault. But I kind of feel like there's always going to be unfinished business with these guys, even when they've got a world title in their hands, because you've got such good fighters in the UK that haven't even come close to you.
And this is the thing, it's like obviously the business of boxing and the politics of boxing. Conor Benn and his team, it's obviously their best interest to get their hands on a world title. There's nothing bigger than that in the sport, along with trying to, sell the fight and obviously make money from the fight and then please the fans. It's hard to be pulled in all the directions, but I don't know, like a lot of casual fans, and a lot of casual fans make up the sport at the moment. A lot of casual fans don't know Algieri, don't know his background or his history. We know him because he lost to Errol Spence or he lost to Manny Pacquiao. Same thing with Formella. Like no one really didn't know him. So I don't know. With my fan hat on, I'm saying I would like to see Conor Benn versus David Adenisian, who beat Josh Kelly quite easily. I'd like to see him versus Josh Kelly. Like I think all the domestic guys from the same promotional companies or rival promotional companies should get together and fight each other. But like I understand, I guess as a fighter and as a fan, I still understand what Conor Benn is trying to do. But it's just, I think sometimes people and fighters pick and choose when they want to pursue legacy and when they want to please the fans. Because if it's pleasing the fans, it's got to be Adenisian. It's got to be Marku.
The problem I see with it as well is this. It's like, and again, you're going to get a chance to fight for a world title.
Yeah.
I mean, you at the early stage of your career now might, if you got offered a world title shot, you probably would take it.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to say, oh, well, you know what, I haven't fought this guy, I haven't fought this guy. And so it's nothing to do with the fighter. It's not their problem. But my thing is when Conor Benn goes and beats Chris Algieri, let's hope he does. My problem is this: at the moment he's fighting fighters that are going in the opposite direction to him.
Yes.
Chris Algieri is at the end of his career.
Yeah,
we don't know what kind of Chris Algieri is going to turn up. I highly doubt that Chris Algieri is looking to win that fight to go and get another title shot.
Yeah, he's not trying to bounce back and fight Errol Spence.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when he goes and wins that, and then they go and match him against probably not Errol Spence, but let's say they did, or Terence Crawford, it's going to be a thing of, okay, so we're expecting him to go and do something in there, and then when and if he gets
beat
convincingly, everyone's going to be shocked as to why. What's gone wrong? Well, nothing's gone wrong. He's just not at
it's
that
just
level.
the level.
It's just not at the level, and there's levels to it. You know,
Yeah.
And fighting Chris Congo or McKinson or Avenisian isn't necessarily going to change that, but it's going to give us a better idea of where he's at that level.
No, 100%. 100%.
Avenisian, that's a good fight. I think if they could make that fight, it's a good fight. It'll be a good clash of styles. But like I said, Conor Benn is improving at a rapid rate.
Oh, 100%.
Every time I see him, I kind of have doubts. I mean, doubts as to what he's going to go and do in there.
Oh, okay, right.
Based on what he's done before.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a long way from when he was getting dropped twice by that journeyman at York Hall.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where we got to give credit to him. I'm not, calling him out or anything like that. Like he's doing his thing, but it's just, I think I'm trying to sympathize with the fans, understanding their frustration, because this is just one example in boxing of fighters who should be fighting each other, not fighting each other. It's not just Conor. It happens all over.
It happens everywhere.
It happens at loads of weight classes, different countries.
The main issue is that there's so many titles to go and win now.
Yeah, guys can just go left and right.
Boxers can kind of coast their way to winning some kind of title.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, go and fight this guy, and you're not at that level. And I think the mad thing is that sometimes I feel like some fighters actually buy into the promotion.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, promotion is all about advertising a fighter and putting them in the best light you can in order to get them for as far, and maybe even supersede what their potential, you know?
Just on that note, I think that's why I don't want to say I rate them any higher or respect them any higher, but if someone's gone through all the titles, you know, the area titles, in our case, the Southern area, then the English, then the British, then you know that they might not have fought, like Dan Aziz has done the Southern area, the English and the British. I think Craig Richards has done the Southern area and the British. They might not have fought each other, but we know that at that particular time, you can never say they didn't clean up domestically. I know. But again, like you said with Yard, just quickly, Yard he won the Southern area and then he went straight for a world title. He didn't fight for the English, didn't fight for the British. So there's always going to be those domestic matchups that can be made. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fight everyone, and there's not always going to be fighters. I mean, in some weight classes, it might be clear to see that English, Southern area English and British, and this is why a lot of the GB amateurs don't go that route, because you know they're at that level.
Yeah, already. Yeah, already.
But, and who am I to tell someone to not take an opportunity and not get as far as you can, as quickly as you can, and get out as quickly as you can, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. That's what 90% of boxers are going to want to do.
But I think just the point that you made there about if Conor Benn hopefully wins against Algieri, I think what the issue is then the promotion will take off to say that, he can fight Errol Spence, or he can fight Manny Pacquiao, or he can fight Sean Porter. And then if he fought them and obviously would lose against them top boys, it's then the crash down that comes on the fighter. Everyone's like, oh, he's rubbish now. And it's not that he's rubbish, it's just that the fans have not been educated to know, one, the route that he was on, and two, the fighters that his name is being shared amongst, if that makes sense.
Imagine if Yard managed to stop Kovalev in that moment in the fight where he looked like he had him on the ropes.
Yeah, in the 8th round,
Imagine if he went and won that world title.
Lions
Bivol. But
Serbia.
Yeah, bruv. It's mad.
There's no point. Yeah, no disrespect, but there's the kind of no point.
Look, that sounds mad, because it's like I'm almost saying winning the world title would have been of detriment to him. And if he went and stopped Kovalev, then he's of a certain level, you know, because Kovalev is not a nobody. Yeah. But I don't know, man.
No, I get you, because the money that he made for the Kovalev fight has what's propelled him to be able to, you know, sell out arenas, I guess, in Copperbox and have big fights with Lyndon Arthur. Every fight he has from now, like, because of his purse was so high against Kovalev, that's his worth. So
the thing is, it's mad me saying it, because look, I'm not a fighter, and it's crazy to even suggest that maybe winning a world title might. What comes next? Well, I've just won a world title. It doesn't matter. So look, I get it. But it's I would like to see more domestic fights.
100%.
So we can have a clear idea of
where guys.
I mean, Chris Congo.
Yeah.
Very talented boxer. I know he went and fought McKinson and lost that fight. I personally didn't think it was a loss. Might have been a draw, but I don't think it was a loss. But like, he's a good boxer.
Very
good boxer. At a time, I would have had him 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10 beating Conor Benn. You know? Conor Benn's got a lot better since then.
Yeah.
And it will be more of a fight now. But yeah, man, like...
just lastly.
Be brave. Yeah. Forget about losing and fighting a guy.
But as a fighter, I just have to say, I think, like what you're saying, it's the perception of losing now that's been created. All the greats beforehand. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, of any weight, Mike McCallum, James Toney, they all fought each other. Like when they were young.
Yeah.
You know, especially James Toney. He fought everyone when he was young. And losing or drawing was just, it didn't affect much. But now, it's like losing. No one wants to lose. And everyone wants to, I guess, pattern up their career to where they can control it the best and avoid hard fights.
Or wait to fight guys later when you can make more money.
Yeah, and
fight them now.
Just fight them now.
Later.
Exactly.
Isaac Chamberlain and Lawrence
Okoli, yeah.
They got
Best
it on
example.
and look, that was brave of both of them.
And this is the thing. It's very rare when guys do it. I mean, George Groves, James DeGale, even young AJ the other day making his debut against undefeated. What was the guy? 1-0?
He was 1-0, yeah.
But it's them kind of matchups, and it's like, okay, he didn't come away with the victory, but the respect that you earn, and if it's a good fight, guys will pay to see it again. So like, I would like to see these domestic matchups, and even if they ain't domestic, would like to see the best fight the best, or guys that are on the same level fight each other. Okay, so that's that. Canelo Alvarez. I mean, I'm a cruiserweight, so I don't want to, you talk about this one.
Yeah, man, I think...
Tell the people what's happened.
So, yeah, Canelo moving up to cruiserweight, or he's announced he's going to move up to cruiserweight and fight for the WBC strap. I think, look, man, it's not the first time we've seen this. Roy Jones Jr. went up to heavyweight. I know he was a bigger fighter than Canelo, but I mean, he's gone there. If what the reports are saying, if the reports are true, he's going to go and fight Makabu, who probably is the weakest cruiserweight champion at the moment. No disrespect, but
yeah, he's past it.
He's the smallest. He's only 6 foot.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to have the weight on him, and he's probably going to be a very big puncher. You know, I remember the fight he had with Tony Bellew. But look, I don't think it's this amazing achievement that everyone is going to make it out to be. First and foremost, like I said, he's picking Makabu. If he goes and wins it, he's not going to fight anyone else. Yeah, in the do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's not going to fight anyone else in the weight category.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be patient.
I just don't think it's going to be... What I'd prefer to see Canelo do is clean up at light heavyweight. I think that would be a much bigger achievement than going and winning that. But look, fair play to him. He's building his legacy.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to say, I went up to cruiserweight and won a world title. And
I think this is the thing. Like, we can't... I hope I didn't cut you there, but he can't... we can't, as fans or as fighters, say nothing to Canelo, because he can do what he wants. He's going to make...
But
when he turns around and he says, "Oh, I'm 7-time or 6-time, 6 weight division world champion," it's kind of like, well, same thing with Kovalev. Same thing when he fought Kovalev. He went up from super middle to fight. No, he went up from middle to fight Kovalev at light heavy, who was at the time the weakest champion. Had a very good reputation, but the weakest champion. Beat him, then went back down. If he beat him, then went to unify at light heavyweight, then you're a world champion at light heavyweight. But he didn't want a piece of none of them guys at light heavyweight. He's come up to cruiserweight. He's not going to fight Lawrence Okoli. He's not going to fight the other champions. He's picked the weakest champion, the oldest champion. So statistically, like, it's probably a 50-50 fight. You know, whereas if he was to fight Lawrence and some of the other guys, even some of the European level cruiserweights, he's just too small. As good as he is, it's a different thing. Like,
he's 5'7". Lawrence is what, 6'5", 6'6"?
6'5", 6'6". Yeah, like the guys are big. Like it's different. 10 ounce.
However,
girls.
if he went in that ring with Makabu and beat him up, then I'd be like, whoa, like.
But I expect to see that. But we saw him do that with Kovalev. He bullied Kovalev. He pushed him back.
It was a weight division.
But do you feel like, I don't think he could push Anthony Yard back. I don't think he could push Lyndon Arthur back. Maybe with his skill.
It'd be an interesting matchup. It'd be interesting. But like I said, I would much prefer him to stay at light heavy and clean up there.
Or even super middle and fight Benavidez. I think Benavidez is the fight I'd like to see him fight. But again, my passion and my frustration is that, like, oh, Canelo's gone up to fight cruiserweight, and the casuals and the people that maybe are not in the know so much, it's kind of like, he's invincible.
Yeah.
But it's like, listen, he's not...
They're also saying the WBC are dropping the weight.
Yeah,
they're dropping the
86
to
kilos.
86. So
that's 4 kilos off of what it is.
Yeah, man. So it's.
Look, I don't know. I think it's
fair play to him. He's got himself into like you said, he's got himself into the position where he can make these decisions now. You know, and any fight, he could go and fight a journeyman tomorrow and still probably make a good 20, 30 million. You know,
but as long as people know what it is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is the thing. It confuses the fans. I think,
and the promoters. Sorry, this is just the promoters and the pundits and these guys. They're not talking about it.
Yeah, they're just gonna build it up.
They're just building the fight, and they'll make Makaru out to be something that
some beast at cruiserweight.
Not that he is, but he's not anymore. And then Canelo, and it's like, it's just like, well, look, Canelo's got a skill set that he could go in there with anyone, of course, but it's like, remember, he's picked Makaru.
Yeah,
he's picked a certain champion.
Makaru has to take that
for a reason.
Yeah,
and because of the money that's bringing, no one's gonna turn it down.
Yeah, no one would.
But if he beats Makaru, I believe Richard Riakpo will be mandatory.
I'm not sure.
I think I see that somewhere. Is he going to fight Richard? Like Richard could knock him into next week.
Yeah.
Just on pure size.
Yeah.
I don't even see how Canelo, what he will look like at the weight. I saw him when he fought at light heavyweight. He was still ripped, but he could carry a bit. He's got another 11 kilos to put on if they fight. If they fight 86.
If at 86, it's gonna be what?
7 kilos. Yeah, 79 to 86 is 70 kilos. So but still, I just don't know how he's gonna carry the weight at 5'7".
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, look, we're probably still gonna watch it, like we always say.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we say with Floyd and these exhibitions, and like, look, we can complain about it as much as we want, but these lot.
But like, if you're a fan of boxing, and I can't push this enough, if you're a fan of boxing, or if you're Benavidez, you're sitting there as Benavidez.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You're kind of left in the shadows.
100.
Somewhat, you know.
But I do think that it will be, like you said, just him carrying the weight. It will be interesting. Just interesting to see, you know, and see what happens. See how he goes in there. How he's gonna fight this guy and whatnot. See what happens if Makaru lands on him. You know.
Yeah. But part of me isn't interested. Like, part of me is, I watch it, but I mean, when I'm not interested, I mean, like, unless he's on a different kind of drug, there's no way, what is he? A super welterweight originally, or a light middleweight can take a punch from a cruiserweight. He'd have to be on something.
Yeah.
I think,
well, let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. But yeah, like you said, I think he's still got unfinished business.
Yeah.
Although he's proved a lot and he's won a lot. He's some really good guys. I mean, the Callum, he's of late one of the most impressive things I saw was what he did to Callum Smith. I feel like Callum Smith was a big enough guy in there to not have that happen to him, and it still happened.
I think, and I think on a skill level, Canelo could probably do that to anybody in the world, other than Usyk and Tyson Fury at the moment. But I'm just saying, those punches that he's hitting Smith with are not going to have the same effect on,
of course,
on Makaru. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying that's where it becomes a little bit. But look, you're right. He's in the position. He has the platform to make.
Yeah, man. And look, I've kind of stopped complaining about this stuff, because it's kind of like these guys. They get this is what the sport is. This is what it is. It's becoming into. It is turning into a bit of a circus. And although this cruiserweight bout will be a genuine bout,
somewhat, it's not a. Yeah, I feel you.
But we've seen it before with Roy Jones. He did it, and again, he did it because he could. He did it.
But I think there's no argument, and I love Roy Jones, so you saying his name just gets me. But I think at super middle, he's beat James Toney. He's beat Mike McCallum, Bernard Hopkins. He cleaned up proper.
Yeah, he
cleaned up proper. So there was no one that could
say
hang around. Yeah. There was actually nothing to do. Whereas Canelo, considering he's still in his prime,
it's like he's just taken the opportunity to get the belts.
Exactly. And he's not ducking at all. He's not ducking no one. But it's like, come on, we want to see you in these, like, clean up. Basically, clean up. You know what I mean? Like, clean up at super middle, you know? So, and that doesn't mean that he fights everybody that calls his name. I don't think he should fight Chris Eubank Jr. I don't want to see that fight. You know, Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't shown that he can dance with Canelo. He just hasn't done it.
Yeah.
It's a money grab. Let's be real. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think he should clean up. But yeah, you're right. He's got the platform, so what can we say? Moving on. What do we have next?
It was the
It was light heavies, right?
Yeah, Boatsi, man.
So Boatsi. So let's just talk about Boatsi's career just a little bit. I don't know much. I know that he has to help me out a little bit. Bronze medal at the Olympics. Showed massive ability there. Turned over, signed by AJ, promoted by Matchroom. Had the build-up fights that you have. He won the British against Liam Conroy, who was a good fighter. He's with MTK. And I feel like since then, his career just hasn't really gone the way I've expected it to go. Like, if you think he turned pro at the same time as Lawrence Coley, they come from the same Olympics. Yeah. And Josh had more success in that Olympics. And look where Lawrence is now.
Yeah. I mean, different division, innit? But
of course, but even when you said about the Isaac Chamberlain and Lawrence Coley fight, it was like Lawrence was having them fights early on. Boatsi also could have had them fights, but like he just, and I don't think it's his fault. I'm not saying that, but I feel like considering his amateur background and the team that he's with, he just hasn't, like, his name hasn't been buzzing enough. Like, everybody who knows boxing knows that he's a force. And I kind of feel for him that his name just hasn't been buzzing amongst these other guys' names, like Yard, Callum Johnson, Lyndon, Craig, now Dan Aziz. Like, I just feel like, and now to have an injury and to be pulled off of this card, he just
it's just another spanner in the works.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think like you said, and I think we touched on it last episode as well. Like, he hasn't kind of hit that upward curve that you would kind of expect from an Olympic medalist, who is a very good fighter and appears to be well suited to the pros.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's gonna. I mean, these other light heavyweights are stepping up now. You know, we see Dan Aziz win the British the other week. Lyndon Arthur and Yard are rematching. Yard's already gone to world level.
Craig's there.
Yeah,
and some of them are building up. I don't like to say this, but some of them are building up a better resume than what Boatsi has.
Yeah, 100%.
Because outside of Liam Conroy, I'm just trying to think. What was that guy he fought in his last fight who was quite dangerous, who won the golden contract? He fought that guy, and he was a dangerous fighter, but I can't remember his name. But I just feel like Craig has a really good resume.
Yeah.
Dan Aziz has a good resume.
Look, these lot, he will always have the backing of Eddie Hearn. And
the ability to go with the backing.
And he could probably fight any one of those guys at any time, as long as they wanted it as well, you know?
But you know better than me, when you come off an injury, you have time off, rehab, X, Y, and Z. Of course. Then you have a comeback fight.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the comeback fight is not going to be against, even if he really wanted it to be, it's not going to be against those names we just mentioned. And I think him going to America, going back to his promotional, I know he's with DAZN and Matchroom. I don't know if that was the right, obviously from a training perspective, he's a smart boy. Like, it was obviously the right thing to do, but just from a promotional aspect, he's not over here. He can't be in the interviews. His face can't be seen at these fights amongst these other domestic guys. So I'm a fan of Boatsi, but I kind of worry that, like, I hope he doesn't get left
by the wayside.
Left by the wayside.
I mean, it might be a thing where he just takes a moment and jumps in.
Yeah, and to be fair,
he might have to do that, and he probably could do.
Yeah, he could. I was just gonna say he could beat any of those names.
But
we mentioned.
I don't know him personally, but he seems like a very genuine, honest guy. Good guy, professional as well.
Good guy.
You don't really see much of him when he's not in the ring. There's not a lot of noise that surrounds him in terms of what he does outside of boxing, which is fine. Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Andre Ward.
Yeah, for sure.
Andre Ward.
I know he looks up to Ward a lot, and that's whose coach he's gone to.
I mean, Andre Ward was one of the, if not the best, other than Floyd, best fighter of our kind of time, you know, in terms of the last 10, 20 years. And but he never did none of the bravado came with him, none of the noise. He was just all about the fighting and being the perfect fighter. And look, the man never lost since he was 14. So.
Yeah, Boatsy,
back to Boatsy, he just reminds me a bit of Andre Ward, just the way he carries himself. It'd be nice to see him
100%
sort of reach the levels that we kind of expected when he turned over. Because I think he's the kind of fighter that would deserve it, but he would work hard for it.
Yeah, for sure.
There, you know? But again, he would also be a very good fighter for any one of these domestic, even Callum Johnson.
Yeah,
any one of these guys.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah,
he would make it a good fight.
Yeah. For sure. Look, you have to go in most of them as a favorite.
Yeah,
for me, like let's not make it out like.
Yeah, of course. But
okay,
it'd be nice to see him get his opportunity.
So hopefully he gets well soon. He's got a hand injury, so he's out of the card. What was it, December 18th or 11th? Chisora Parker.
Was it the 11th? I think it was the 11th.
Might be, but he's off of that, so probably I don't know, February, March next year. Sticking with the light heavyweights, I know you mentioned it. Dan Aziz, Jose Burton. I didn't watch all the fight, but I caught the replay.
It went. I think it went pretty much how I kind of expected it to go.
But it was it was an all round just a great performance, man. Like it was dominating.
He's a brute.
Yeah, he's dominating.
You can see the very aggressive, he's ready for war. You know,
he's got that Marvin Hagler style.
Yeah, and they mentioned that at the time as well. Man. Again, look, he's another person another fighter that's waited for his opportunity.
Yeah,
and he's patiently gone through the levels. Again, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would duck anybody or avoid fighting certain people or worry about fighting them at a later date. Make the fight when the fight's a bigger fight. And I think out of all of them, the years aren't on his side so much.
Yeah,
so he's the older one.
That's why I was happy for him to achieve what he achieved, because it's like now he's 32. Some of the other boys are a bit younger, like 29, 28. But now they can't really ignore him. I'm not saying anybody was ducking him, but now he's got that. It's great leverage. Yeah, you know, he could pick up a promotional.
Arguably, look, I mean, he's achieved more than. I mean, Craig had the British.
Craig had the British out of the Southern area. Yeah.
So he's levels with Craig on what Craig's achieved.
For me, I think when I say the performance, I'm just like, he looked levels above the British title level at that particular point. You know, it's like. For me, it looked like Jose shouldn't have really been in there with him. Yeah. You know, he was on the inside, on the outside. Like it was a great performance, and I was happy to see him come away with the British title. I would like to see him maybe fight Craig next, but again, like we spoke about, Craig's going one way, Dan is obviously going another way. Craig isn't necessarily looking. No offense to Dan, but he's not necessarily looking behind him. He wants to fight for a world title. But hopefully. Someone somewhere can just throw these names in the hat and we can have Dan versus even the winner of Linden or the loser of Linden and Yard. Like, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why these guys wouldn't want to. Well, we discussed it already, but I mean, look, if you ain't won the British title and the opportunity is there, just go and fight for it. Yeah, just go and fight for it. Don't be worried to lose direction on the. Because you're gonna have to fight someone anyway when you get there. Yeah. And obviously the money element plays a big part. But so look, don't be chasing Bivol and not fighting Dan if you haven't won the British title yet. Just fight him, win it.
Yeah. No, Craig has won it. If you're referring to Craig,
I'm referring to.
Okay, just in general.
Linden and Yard. You know. But yeah, man.
I tell you what will be it. And just quickly, just on Dan as well, like everything that I've been saying, everything that we've been saying here about fighters fighting each other, it's like he came out and I don't know if you saw his post-fight interview, and that's exactly what he was saying with 10 times more passion. Like, look, we should just all be fighting each other. Don't be trying to fight for a this or that. And it's like, you know, like let's give the fans good fights. And that's what boxing should be about, you know. And he said that the money will come, and he's right with that. So I'd like to see him kind of be propelled and get finally some respect at that level and have his name floating around with these other guys. I think him and Boatsi would be just a monstrous fight. Yeah. Just the clash of the styles.
Last episode, innit? Yeah.
Because I know Dan don't really take a step back. I've not sparred with White to see what he don't look like. He takes a step back. They can both take a punch. Yeah, that's a fight. That's a fight I'd like to see. So big up, Dan. Congrats on the victory. Okay, last bit. Let's really dig into this rematch on the weekend. Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it a little bit. I personally think Lyndon Arthur's going to take it again.
Serious?
Yeah.
In what fashion?
I just think he was nowhere near what he could have been on the night that he beat him. And neither was Anthony Yarde, to be fair. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what changes Anthony Yarde makes. And to be fair, when he threw the jab in that fight, he had success. But Lyndon didn't have his right hand.
For me, the biggest thing is I think the whole build-up. Just the way it's different from the first one to the second one. We've had Tunde and Pat going at it. We've had Lyndon, who's normally quiet to himself, being a little bit more vocal. Anthony's respectful, but even he seems a little bit, not flustered, but annoyed.
Yeah.
I think the agendas are going to be a little bit different. Even though Lyndon is considered to be the boxer and the point scorer, I think he's going to want to put a beating on.
If his right hand's all right, he's going to be more in a position to do that.
But then he puts himself in a position to be countered. And I think he can be countered against Anthony.
I've just got a feeling Lyndon.
So you're going for Lyndon?
Yeah.
All right, so...
That's. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not going to sit on the...
I don't know. I think if Anthony can start the fight how he finished it, he's going to have a lot more success. Lyndon, obviously a former GB boy, fought all over the world. He's not going to be rattled, but it's like if he doesn't get the time and the space to jab and the fight becomes like what Dan Aziz did with Jose Burton. Did not give him a chance to jab. Yeah. And whenever he jabbed, he was underneath and he was on his chest. If Yarde does that against Lyndon, I've not seen Lyndon fight on the inside necessarily. He obviously can. They both can. But it's just a completely different fight.
Yeah.
It's a completely different fight. But I respect your...
Yeah, man, look.
You think he knocks him out? You think he knocks out Yarde if he lands?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, look.
Yeah, we've seen...
He landed the jab enough times to throw enough right hands. Yeah. It might not be a one-punch knockout, but over the rounds, if he keeps landing and keeps having success, the fight might get stopped.
I know on this podcast we choose to be very respectful and mature and professional with our opinions. But as a fighter, I'm not going to answer this question. You're going to answer it. Tunde and Tunde's involvement.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Because people have a lot to say about him. And I want to say that I think he's done good for Yarde to get him the fights that he's got him, getting the money and his family that they've got and the sponsorships that he's got. But you know, the whole lions in the camp thing that people say, the whole thing of him looking for another trainer, just all these different things that people say.
You know what? I think we're seeing like nowadays coaches being a lot more sort of outspoken and involved, and sort of the coach and the fighter come in as a package, you know, particularly when we see coaches and fighters with their fathers as their coaches. And I know Tunde, even Yarde spoken about it, takes up that kind of role with Yarde. I think he did very well to get him to where he is. Yarde only had 11 amateur fights, which is not a lot at all considering he's fought Kovalev for a world title.
Yeah.
So on a management perspective and how they've handled his career.
Yeah, hats off.
Obviously, hats off. We don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors.
But as a trainer,
again, look, we can't...
Give me your honest. And I'm not being biased here, I just want to be honest.
I think that the advice to Yarde could have been better in the corner on the Kovalev fight. There's that when he told him to empty the tank in the 8th. That was kind of considering he was in there with Kovalev was, I mean, in hindsight, wasn't the best advice in my opinion.
I do just want to quickly defend Tunde there. Sorry, I know I've asked this, but I think sometimes people don't like his how he comes across. So any little thing that he does say people might pick apart if it doesn't work.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it's not the first time a trainer has said, "Look, empty the tank, go after this guy, get him out of there." It's not the first
100%.
time, and it's not the first time that hasn't worked.
I was going to touch on that. I think I think there's a stigma around Tunde because people don't like the way he comes across. But for me personally, I like if Yard trusts him. Yard's a grown man. It's not like he's a vulnerable child. Yeah, he's a grown man.
Intelligent as well.
He's intelligent enough to make decisions, and he's obviously made the decision to be, to have Tunde be his trainer. I don't have a problem with Tunde's approach until the point where it becomes about him rather than the fighter. Because for me, it's all about the fighter. The fighter is the one that gets in the ring. The fighter is the one that takes the risks. The fighter is the one, for me, the fighter is the one that pays the team.
So when you say makes it about him, just elaborate on that for me a bit.
Just
because I think if we speak outside of here,
I can't really judge it from outside, but I suppose you could perceive at times that Tunde is taking the limelight. But
not just Tunde, but I was going to say, we speak outside of here. There's a lot of trainers, a lot of people that do that. So just elaborate on that, like what that actually looks like when people take the limelight or make it about them, when trainers make it about them.
Being over outspoken at the press conferences. I don't know. Again, it's hard for me to judge. It's hard for me to judge from the outside because, like I said, I don't know what goes on in their camp. They're quite closed with what goes on in their camp.
Yeah,
and that's, in all fairness to them, like they've chosen to be that way. I would prefer to hear Yard's honest opinion on how he feel, and by the looks of it, Yard's completely happy with where he's at and the opportunity.
Yeah, somewhat, but like, facts is he's looking. He has been looking for new trainers. He's added James Cook. Did he add anybody else?
No, I think
in the past.
I don't think so. He brought James Cook in.
Has he not brought someone else in after the Kovalev fight?
I'm not sure, man. I don't think so.
Well, James Cook was he with him in the first fight? In the first fight with Lyndon?
No.
Okay, so
I think that was a new thing.
That's a new thing. Okay, so that's a new thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't see.
Do you see much? Do you see much?
I think
change because of James Cook entering the scene?
Yeah, James Cook he was an experienced fighter.
Do you feel like he'll be given a platform in the?
Look, he's brought him in there for a reason.
Yeah,
so I'm
that's
guessing
true.
He will.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think Tunde at times can be misunderstood. Like, I don't know the guy personally, but from the outside, it's very easy to say, "Oh, he's this, he's that," and sometimes it does look like that. I'll be honest; it does look like he's kind of reveling in the limelight and sort of saying more than he needs to say. Especially in the last press conference, I don't feel like both sides. I didn't feel like they needed to go at each other the way they did because it's the fighters' press conference. It's about the fight. Like I said, the fighters take the risk. Don't hype it up.
Yeah,
I don't see the worth in hyping it up when you're not the ones getting in the ring.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Look, all the best to Yard. All the best to Yard. All the best to Lyndon. But yeah, with regards to Tunde and Yard, I can't judge. And I do feel like if Yard felt there was something fundamentally wrong,
that much I agree with.
He wouldn't be there.
He's really got his head screwed on.
He wouldn't be there with Tunde, and Tunde's got him. Probably the best opportunity he could have got at that time. Probably better than
he's done his job as a manager.
That leap was, I mean,
massive.
If he earned the money he reported he earned, it was reported that he earned. He's set for life. Yeah, you know. So man, it's only Tunde that would have got him that opportunity.
So you've got Lyndon by knockout. Is that what you're saying? No,
not.
But you're saying he can't knock him out.
I think it could go that way.
Okay.
But definitely Lyndon over 12 rounds is the way I'm gonna go.
Lyndon over 12 rounds, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, then I'll give you one for Lyndon, one for Yard. If Lyndon wins, who do you want to see him fight? Where do you want to see him go? Realistically, who can he fight and for what? I think this fight is this rematch is for. It's not for a world title.
It's for one of the.
But does the winner become mandatory for something?
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. However,
or do they go? Is it? I thought it was like a final eliminator for something. I could be completely wrong.
Possibly. But
maybe I heard they was trying to make it that. But okay, where does Lyndon go if he wins for you?
I think Lyndon. I would
bet.
like to see Lyndon go and fight Dan Aziz.
Okay,
British,
if he wins.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I think Yard got that world title opportunity and has come back down, but I think he's only at where he would have been at anyway, if that makes sense. I don't think the world title means that if you beat Yard,
that's interesting,
you should go and fight for a world title. I don't think that's correct. I think I would like to see Lyndon beat Yard again, and then maybe go for the British. Maybe if not the British, at least the European. I don't know who's got the European, but go and fight at that sort of.
Almost. I know what you mean. That's the level that they're at. Let's be honest, because Yard didn't win the world title, so it is that level.
Yeah.
To be fair, I would just in response to that before I ask you about Yard, I would like to see Dan fight Craig. I think it's a better matchup. I think it's a better styled fight, and I got a lot of love for Craig. I'm not saying that Craig is ahead of Dan or Dan is behind Craig, but I can see why Craig might feel that. Why am I looking behind me, as I said before? Because he's looking for world titles, but I just feel it would be an easier fight to make. I just feel if Lyndon beats Yard twice, it's hard for him to kind of come down and fight Dan, because he felt like he should have been fighting for a world title anyway after he beat Yard the first time. Because if Yard beat Lyndon, that's what Yard was going to go and do.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
From that perspective, of course. But in terms of what I would like to see.
I feel you. And if Lyndon loses, so for me, if Lyndon lost, this is what I was going to say. If Lyndon lost, then cool, go and fight Dan. And I think Dan will take that fight. It's still something in it for Dan. It's only going to be Lyndon's first loss. I think it catapults him right back.
Do you think they rematch again?
Who?
If Yard wins?
I don't think so, no. This is like it's like Andy Ruiz, AJ. You just want it's rematch clause. They had a rematch clause.
Oh, okay,
they had a rematch clause for the first one.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Yeah. So if Lyndon lost, I would like to see him fight Dan for the British title. And that's still a good opportunity. Like it's almost like you haven't taken a loss. You go back into a 50-50 fight for a title.
Yeah.
And if he wins that against Dan, that propels him back to wherever he wants to go. If Yard wins, not what is he gonna do? Because we kind of know where he would want to go. But like, who would you want to see him fight? Are you saying the same thing?
I think depending on the nature of the win, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like we said, we've seen Yard at world level, so fight for a world title. So to him, it's only going to make sense to go and fight for another world title. I mean, look, regardless of what we're saying about domestic fights and stuff, it would be interesting to see Craig, Yard, or Lyndon in against the likes of Bivol.
But Bivol's aging. He's not what he was 3 years ago.
Yeah, but
we saw that with Craig. But Craig done his job, but Bivol isn't what he is. And I don't think any of them at the moment can go and fight. What's the other light heavy's name? Is it Patervi?
Yeah.
I don't know if that is just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. For some reason, I feel
my thing with Yard is just that, like, Yard. This will be Yard's third loss.
See, I honestly feel like Yard is still at British level. I still feel like he's at British level, maybe European level. So when I'm saying Lyndon should go and fight for the British. Not saying it will be a step up or a step down. I feel like he's only proved that he's at British level by beating Yard a second time. You know?
Yeah.
But again,
enough names domestically.
Callum Johnson is out there. Like he's been out there before all these lot, you know? And he's still...
He would take the loser or the winner.
Yeah, you know?
But I think I'd like to see Dan and Callum Johnson, probably easier fight to make. Because Callum Johnson isn't saying what maybe Craig and Yard.
But again, Callum Johnson's been at that level long enough to go and...
But my fear for Dan is if he beats Callum Johnson, which is a very hard fight, does he get his... does that really catapult him to where he wants to go? I feel like it probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course,
it'd be better for him to fight Craig, Lyndon, or Yard. Okay, I think that's time. So thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. any topics for us, just let us know and we'll touch on them. I think next episode we'll be touching on Teofimo Lopez and
Cambosos.
Cambosos.
Yeah.
Cambosos. He just lost to him over the weekend, and I think we'll dive into the lightweights a little bit. Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, Devon Haney. But yeah, until then, all things boxing.